And hello everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name's Aaron and you are watching Logo TCG. Today we're going to be upgrading the forces of the Imperium deck. It's one of the Warhammer decks that just came out, and I haven't played this deck personally. I have had it played against me. It seems pretty sweet, but we're going to go through, make some upgrades, and try to fine tune it a little bit. So I'm going to start with um, demoting Inquisitor Greyfax from the command zone. She has Vigilance. She's a human Inquisitor, and other creatures you control get +1/+0 and have Vigilance. And she also has Hunt for Heresy, 1, tap target creature an opponent controls, then investigate. You get to make a blue token. But I feel like the better fit for the direction that we're pushing this in, which is going to be a lot more token strategy based, is going to be Marneus Calgar, who's a legendary creature, a Stardust Warrior. Double strike, and whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. And then for 6 mana, you can create 2/2/2 white Astartes creature tokens on the battlefield, and they have Vigilance. So we're going to be going Marneus Calgar. I feel like that's the better option here. A lot more consistent. We like card draw. And we're going to try to push it in the token direction as much as possible. So I did give myself a small deck building restriction for this, and I tried to keep any creatures I added to the deck to just being humans or human-ish, just to not fully ruin the flavor of the Imperium. A man, anyone who follows any sort of lore of 40k knows that the Imperium man absolutely hate Xenos a lot, and they hate anything that isn't a human. It's I was going to say borderline racism. It's full-blown racism, and we're just going to try to keep it to nothing but human typings here. But before we get to the creatures, we're just going to get to what I like to call the boring stuff. So just upgrading the lands. Got some fetch lands here, or excuse me, shock lands. That would be finding ways to add into the deck. And it's not really hard. The deck has a lot of basics. Now we got some fetch lands. Floodstrand, Polluted Delta, Marsh Flats, within our colors. And I'm going to go through some of the creatures we have here next. So we have Grand Abolisher. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. We have Ellen Harbury's Busybody. So look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of tokens you've created this turn. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest into the bottom of your library in a random order. Choose a background. We have Jadar, Ghoul Caller of Nephalia. At the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decay, you create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decayed. So I'm not really being super strict about like the no humans rules on the tokens. We mostly want to just make as many tokens as possible, and I'm making sure that as long as the creature's a human, I'm okay with it. That's whatever mental gymnastics I jump through to justify some of these really cool cards. We have Ghoul Caller Gisa. She's a human wizard. You can sacrifice another creature for one black and tapping it, and create X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, where X is the sacrifice creature's powers. This is a good way to keep creatures going, sacrificing them, getting one back, and if Gisa doesn't go checked for a couple cycles around the table, it's going to get out of control. So now we just a way of turning those creatures into cards. Even though our commander does that, it never hurts to get more cards. So we have Shadowheart Dark Justicar. Sacrifice another creature, draw X card, where X is that creature's power. Pretty simple card. And at the bottom line, Marneus Calgar makes 2/2s. And we can at least, for 2 mana, drawing 2 cards is a pretty good rate on a repeatable body. I like repeatable sources of card draw. We have Sanctifier Souls, not entirely married to adding this one to the deck, so once we start seeing what we can cut, we'll go through it, but this is kind of on the pile, but we'll see. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Sanctifier Souls get +1/+1 until end of turn, and for 2 and a white, you can exile a creature card from your graveyard, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying on the battlefield. We don't really have a lot, or if any, recursion in this deck to my knowledge, so if something's in your graveyard and you have this on the battlefield, it's not a tap ability, so you can do it as many times as you wish. But we'll see. We'll see if it makes the cut here. Whenever you're doing a token strategy and white is in your colors, you probably want Anointed Procession. If an effect will create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens instead, so effectively doubling any sort of token generation that we have. Rhystic Study. We all know what this does. When an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1, so you want to make sure this deck wants to draw a lot of cards. It's going to be hard to miss land drops, and you're always going to have something to do. And then we have Smothering Tide. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2. And if it doesn't, you create a treasure token. And the cool thing about Smothering Tide and Marneus Calgar is whenever one or more tokens enters the battlefield, Marneus Calgar does not care what the token is. So you will also be drawing cards off of Smothering Tide, effectively turning it into a Rhystic Study as well, which is going to get obnoxious really fast. People might actually pay the 2 for Smothering Tide if that combo's set up. That's pretty one of the most. That's one of the first things that I thought to do when I read Marneus Calgar. So we have Bitter Blossom. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and put a 1/1 Black Fairy Rogue creature token with flying into play. Pretty simple, making tokens. So you have Call the Coppercoats. So Strive, it costs 1 less to cast for each target beyond the first. You can choose any number of target opponents, create X 1/1 white human soldiers creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures they control. So this is just a good way to target multiple opponents, get a whole bunch of creatures in response. They're also humans, only for my own flavor brain, which I've already done wrong by putting zombies and fairies in here. But I wouldn't be shocked if this card's already in the deck. We have Archivist of Ogma, Flash. It's not a human, it's a halfling. It's half human. It looks like a person. Who knows? But just effectively, just whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw cards. So just more card draw. Never mad to have this little dude around. Upgrading the removal package a little bit. So we have Anguished Unmaking, exile target non-land permanent. You lose 3 life. Hits everything you need. I found a copy of Cyclonic Rift in my room while I was cleaning up. So we all know what Cyc Rift does. We all been ripped by Cyc Rift, and when you're playing a token strategy, go wide, and you want to clear the board up and end the game, then here you go. So we have Access Denied. Counter target spell. Create X 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creatures with flying, where X is that spell's mana value. So this is an interesting one, because holding 5 mana up for a counter spell is pretty feels bad. But we get to create tokens, draw cards, and counter a spell. So who knows? Maybe it might work. We have Hour of Reckoning. So it has Convoke. So it's cheaper for every creature that you tap to help pay its cost. And if that creature has a specific color, it can pay for that. So Marneus Calgar, for example, makes white 2/2 tokens, so they can pay for the white pips in there. And destroy all non-token creatures. So just as kind of a one-sided board wipe. We have 2 of those in here so far. Phyrexian Altar, since we're going to be making a lot of tokens, we're going to be turning them into mana to do stuff. Demonic Tutor. Search your library for a card, put it in your hand. That's it. So we have a card. I don't know if this makes it in here, but I figured it would have some synergy. So we have Mordenkainen, drawing cards, and mostly there because the -2 is create a blue dog illusion creature token with this creature's power and toughness is equal to twice the number of cards in your hand, and that seems very synergistic with what we're doing. We could just make a dog. There's a lot of card draw that I'm adding in here. We'll also have card draw stapled onto our commander. So I foresee this kind of being okay to make a big dog. I also like doing stupid stuff in Commander. I don't build optimal decks. I make decks that make me happy, so who knows. We have Elspeth, Sun's Champion. So she's here mainly for the +1. Put 3 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield. She also can destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater, so she's a board wipe. She's also token generation. Seems like a lot of things we want to be doing. And we have Liliana, Dreadhorde General. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Drawing card and making tokens. It does both of the things that I like doing. So create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, and each player sacrifices 2 creatures. So depending on the board state, this can either do nothing or do everything. But mostly there for making zombies and going wide. So those are the cards that I'm looking to add. We're going to go through the cards in the pre-con, which I did check. If you wanted to watch my Tyranids video, my deck actually came in incorrect. So I'm not too strict about worrying about creature counts, land counts, ramp card, card draw amounts. I You know, I'm not particularly super worried about breaking any of that for these upgrades, but I'm going to kind of just go through the stack of cards here. I've read through all these cards before, but I'll go over them and just see how I feel about them, and I'm going to put them into 2 piles, just yeah, I want to keep this, or the maybe pile, or if it's not really pushing our strategy really close. So I like Inquisitor Greyfax. She can stay just because she gives creatures +1/+0 and vigilance. So that's mostly important because when you have a white board, you don't ever want to go shields down. So going shields down feels bad. We have Celestine, the Living Saint. She's flying, lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, return target creature with mana value X to your graveyard. X is the amount of life you gain this turn. This seems like it would be a sweet commander by herself, but I'm going to put her in the maybe pile. She's not really... I don't know how much life gain this deck has, or for that to be relevant. So it seems like she is asking for her own deck to be built around her, which actually seems pretty sweet. So we have Space Marine Devastator. So we're almost immediately going to keep anything but Squad, because it makes a copy of itself. And when it enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. So it's basically, I mean, it's not basic, it's literally Kicker. It's Kicker that can be interacted with on the stack, so you don't have to worry about the Kicker cost there, and you can just stop it straight out. But yeah, we want to make copies of this, destroy artifacts, gives us tokens. I'm okay with it. So we have Triumph of St. Catherine, lifelink. When this card dies, exile it, and the top 6 cards of your library in a face-down pile. If you do, shuffle that pile, put it back on top of your library, and it has a miracle cost. Have there been creatures with miracle before? I'm going to put that in the maybe pile. Ultramarine Honor Guard has Squad, and it's a Lord. This card gets out of control. Absolutely. Vexilus Praetor, Flash Vigilance. Commanders you control have protection from everything. So this seems pretty good because it's going to protect Marneus Calgar. And most importantly, Marneus Calgar is not... We're not worried about targeting Marneus Calgar. As long as Marneus is just chilling on the board, getting us value, Vexilus Praetor is a great way to protect our stuff. Zephyrim has Squad and Miracle. And Flying Vigilance, that's it. Just a good body. I'm okay with that. Sister of Silence. When Sister of Silence enters the battlefield, counter target spell, sorcery. It counters all the things. Flash for 5 mana. I was just talking about holding up 5 mana. We'll keep this here. We'll put this in the maybe pile. It's because it is interaction. We don't want to go down too much on interaction or go down at all. Keep it mostly in line with what the precon's doing. Like I said, I want to help the precon do what it wants to do out of the box, just a little more consistent and a little better, a little cooler. Vanguard Suppressor, when it deals damage to a player, draw a card, and it has Squad. We're keeping that. I'm almost going to insta keep anything with Squad. Arco Flagellant, can't be blocked, pay 3 life, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, it has Squad on it. Primaris Eliminator. When it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Destroy target creature, and creatures target player controls gets -2/-2 when the end of turn. So this card got played against me when I was playing Necrons, and it was basically kill all your basic Necron token dudes. And didn't quite take me out of the game, but it did some damage. Assault Intercessor, First Strike Menace. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Every time this card has hit the table, it has made such a big impact, and I'm absolutely going to keep it. It's not pushing us towards our goal, but we have a lot of tokens. We have no problem chump blocking or blocking anything. There's going to be a lot of creatures dying. We have Belisarius Call. Ultima Founding. Tap 2 untap artifacts you control and create 2/2. Create a 2/2 white Astartes warrior creature tokens with vigilance, and Master of Machines. You can tap X creatures control. Look at the top X cards of your library. Maybe reveal an artifact card from among them and put it in your hand. So I'm going to say yes to this, mostly for the first ability, to tap artifacts and create Astartes warriors. Unsure about the second ability, but it might be relevant. But the first ability is good enough for me. Calidus Assassin, so I'm keeping this card. It has no synergy with what we're doing, but it's awesome. For 6 mana flash, you may have Calidus Assassin enter the battlefield tapped as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has, when this creature enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 other target creature with the same name as this creature. So one super crazy thing about Calidus Assassin, I had a fun interaction with this where someone cast this targeting the Nightbringer from the Necron deck. And we actually had to go to judge chat because it turns out she copies the Nightbringer on the stack and becomes a copy of Nightbringer and gets the enter the battlefield effect cast from your hand trigger, and was able to repeat the life drain of that. And for that reason alone, for that interaction, I'm going to keep Calidus Assassin. You know, we'll see how if Pickens gets slim towards the end, we'll see that if we can make space for it. But I was very high on that card. That interaction was awesome. So we have Commissar Severina Rain. Whenever she attacks, each opponent loses X life or X's number of other attacking creatures, and you can sacrifice a creature, gain 2 life, and draw a card. So this seems great because it's a way of hitting people with our tokens and paying off for having a wide board. So we have Company Commander. When Company Commander enters the battlefield, create a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you have. And when it attacks, creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. So this is giving us a ton of evasion, letting us hit people, and they actually have to think about whether they want to block or not. And that seems like a great payoff for having a lot of tokens. Cybernetica Data Smith, protection from robots. That'll be relevant once the Transformer set hits. Field reprogramming. Target player draws a card. Another target player creates a 4/4 colorless robot artifact with this creature can't block. So you're giving people kind of like a worthless robot thing. And you have to choose a person to draw a card. You're probably choosing yourself. You can maybe be political with Cybernetic Data Smith. We're going to put this in the maybe pile. We have a lot of card draw in there, so I don't really need weird, wonky, political, conditional card draw. So we have I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the librarian's name here. Veil of Time. When it attacks, you may cast a spell with mana value X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost, where X is the number of attacking creatures. That seems like a good payoff for having lots of creatures. Inquisitor Eisenhorn. You may reveal the first card you draw each turn as you draw it, and when you reveal an instant or sorcery card this way, create Shabal, a legendary 4/4 black demon creature with flying. And when he deals combat damage to a player, you investigate that many times, and investigating creates tokens. We want to do that. Neum Shai Morad. When that card deals combat damage to a player, you may have that player return permanent card from their graveyard to their hand, and if you do, that player chooses a permanent card in your graveyard, and you put it onto your battlefield under your control. That's really... This is another one that seems like it's asking for a specific deck to be built around. I don't know if Neum Shai Murad is a fan favorite card or not, or character or not. So we have Sister Hospitaller. When Sister Hospitaller enters the battlefield, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its mana value. So just 6 mana reanimated target within Orzhov colors. I did say earlier, I don't know if there's a lot of reanimation in here, but I don't think this is like 1 or 2 reanimations targets are going to mess with the synergy of having that one card we were thinking adding in. But we'll see. It's 99 cards, so the odds of them overlapping are not high. Sister Repentia. When Sister Repentia dies, you may gain 2 life and draw 2 cards, and it has a miracle cost. Interesting, miracle cost for an Orzhov. So if you just top deck it, you could just be like, oh, look what I got, and then just cast it immediately. Redemptor Dreadnought. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard, and when Redemptor Dreadnought attacks, if a card is exiled with it, it gains +X/+X, where X is the power of that exile card. So this is some good flavor, because the Redemptor Dreadnoughts are usually like injured warriors on the battlefield, so they're all just like super jacked up and missing limbs and stuff like that. But it's like, oh, you get to serve the Emperor another purpose in battle by being in this sweet robot. Grey Knight Paragon. Flash. When Grey Knight Paragon enters the battlefield, destroy target attacking creature. If that creature is a demon, exile it instead. Seems really specific. Kind of, and it only it only destroys target creature, and if it's a demon, it exiles it. Put this in the maybe pile. It's removal. I believe this deck has real removal cards such as Swords to Plowshare and Path to Exile. I'll do a double check. Space Marine Scout, first strike vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a plans card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So there's a lot of white cards that have this kind of ability, but I think this might be the most aggressively costed I've ever seen it at 3 mana, because before it's like 5 mana, 4 mana. I don't remember the name of the cards because I don't play them because they suck. Thunderwolf Cavalry, first strike. When Thunderwolf Cavalry deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on each other creature you control. So that's first strike, 4/4. This is okay. It'll make your tokens bigger. I did not have an Anointed Procession in my binder. That really bummed me out. I was really looking for one, or else it would 100% be in that pile there. Sicarian Infiltrator is flash and squad. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card, so you can just squad up, draw a whole bunch of cards. I like that. Sanguinary Priest, when another creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. So I like that because it's any target. So it's kind of a Mayhem Devil type effect, so you can actually choose to point the damage. It's not like Zulaport or Blood Artist where you guys just get to drain someone's life. So if you need something on the board dead and it's like a big, like just cast this into a board wipe or something like that, or I mean, I don't know. We have Primaris Chaplain, Battle Cry. When Primaris Chaplain attacks, it gains indestructible until end of turn, and whenever it attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So that's some good flavor, because it kind of goes, ah, and everyone else gets pumped up because of it. You know what? Just for that reason alone, I'm going to keep it. We have Bastion Protector. Commanders you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible. This is a reprint, I believe, of a previous Magic the Gathering card. I don't know about having Vexilus Praetor and Bastion Protector at the same time in the same deck, but we'll let it rock for now. So far, this is the pile of cards that were on the maybe. We're going to put this in the yes pile, but we might revisit it if needed. I am going to go down a land, but let's keep going through the spells now. So we have Martial Coup. You can create X/1/1 white soldier. I don't know why I can't read today. Create X/1/1 white soldier creature tokens. If X is 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. So this is a board wipe. You know what? Board wipes are important. Making tokens are important. That stays. Launch the Fleet. This spell costs 1 more to cast for each target beyond the first until end of turn. Any number of target creatures gain whenever this creature attacks. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token that's tapped and attacking. So yeah, we definitely want to do that. Our Reckoning. Actually, hang on. Is that one of the cards? I'm just curious if that was one of the cards that I put aside that reads like something. It is. Okay, cool. This is the first time I've done this. Oops. That's one less card that we get to put into this deck. I should read deck lists before I make these piles. Yeah, we're keeping that. We thought it was good. Fell the Mighty. So we kind of have a Fell the Mighty effect on Elspeth. Destroy all creatures with target power greater than target creature's power. So you get to pick a target, so it depends. It seems flexible, but not really. Deploy to the front, create X/1/1 white soldier creature tokens. We'll keep that. Collective Effort, escalate, tap and untap creature you control. Choose one or more, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, destroy target enchantment, put a 1/1 counter on each target creature target player's control. Also, this reminds me, it was real hard to not put Shadrick Silverquill in this deck, who makes tokens, who adds counters, who does a lot of cool stuff, but my no human rule said no. But this reminds me of something that Shadrick's does. Exterminatus, non-land permanents your opponents control lose indestructible and destroy all non-land permanents. I love this card because so many people sit there with their indestructible stuff, or they'll set up whatever Darksteel Citadel and just be like, haha, nothing can destroy me. And then you just pop them with an Exterminatus or a Cyclonic Rift or something like that. A lot of board wipes, so I might have to reevaluate. I think we're at like, there's 3 in this pre-con, and I have 1 or 2 more in the pile. I don't like playing a lot of board wipes. That's just me personally. I don't like playing through board wipes, and I don't give myself the option because I don't like playing a lot of board wipes. But for the Emperor, 3 and a white, creatures you control get +2/+2 and gain Vigilance and Lifelink until end of turn. So that seems like a pretty splashy card, pretty good. I mean, it's for the Emperor, right? That's what the Imperium man is all about. They're old dudes sitting in a throne who's got to eat 1,000 people a day or whatever. Mortified, destroy target creature or enchantment. So I'm going to say no to this because that's an easy upgrade to Anguish and Making. Swords to Plowshare, gotta stay. Utter End. I love this card. I love this art. Wow. Target eradicated. That which burns shall ever be blessed. Entrapment maneuver. Target player sacrifices an attacking creature, and I create tokens where X is that creature's toughness. That seems pretty dope. Deny the Witch. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Its controller loses life equal to the number of creatures I control. And they shall know no fear. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control the chosen type get +1/+0 and gain indestructible. So this is instant. Also, so this is like a really cool card. It's also like really good effect. People like love the Teferi's protection type effects, and I like giving like significantly worse but lower costed versions of that. That's a pretty good card design. I'm about it. We have Reconnaissance Mission. When a creature you control dies or deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, cycling 2. That's the way to keep cards in our hand. The Flesh is Weak. When enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Then they become artifacts, and then non-artifact creatures get -1/-1. Interesting. This is kind of a bad card. Especially like if you're playing in Warhammer Pod. I had someone play this, and I was playing Necrons, and I'm like, cool. That don't bother me at all. So we'll see about this. Like the lore is very good. Birth of the Imperium. Create a token. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. Draw 2 cards for each opponent who controls fewer creatures than you. So that seems like something we want. That's really adding up to the strategy that we're focusing in on. And Defenders of Humanity enters the battlefield. Create X/2/2 White Astartes warrior creatures with Vigilance, and you can exile Defenders of Humanity and make more. Activate if you control no creatures. So this is a great board wipe protection. Let's see. Yeah, so it's X and a 2. So this is like the reverse Meat Hook Massacre. Meat hooking in reverse. All right. So I didn't really add much to the maybe pile. I was pretty happy with a lot of those spells. So we have the Golden Throne. If you would lose the game, exile it. And also you can sacrifice a creature because 1,000 souls die every day. Add 3 mana in any combination of colors. So this is a ramp piece. This is a good way to like if the minus, like getting just an extra turn after a big attack probably doesn't matter 99% of the time, but it might, and mostly just there because it's a cool sack outlet to get 3 mana out of your creatures. Inquisitorial Rosette. When it attacks, whenever equipped creature attacks, create a 2/2 White Astartes creature token with Vigilance that's attacking. Then the creatures gain menace until end of turn. So this is making tokens. It's equipment. It's a little slow. 5 mana to cast and equipped, but we'll keep it. Knight Paladin. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent and then crew 1. So it's an artifact. It's not really pushing us towards the goal. It enters the battlefield, deals 4 damage to each opponent, but it's not repeatable. Reaver Titan has protection from mana value 3 or less. When it attacks, deal 5 damage to each opponent, crew 4. So I like the flavor of having something really big to kind of have all your tokens do, because that's what you do in a game of Warhammer. You have like a big board and you got your vehicles coming in, and they're the single units, and you have your big armies. I like that, but I'm maybe on the vehicles, even though I think they're awesome. I'll put them on the least maybe of all the maybes on the pile. Thunderhawk Gunship. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 tokens with Vigilance. Then when it attacks, attacking creatures you control gain flying until end of turn. That's pretty sweet. I'm about that. And it's a 6/6 for 6 mana, crew 2. So a single Astartes can crew it by itself, and it makes 2 dudes. That's synergistic with what we're doing. Everflowing Chalice has multi-kicker, so I'm not going to mess with the mana rocks too much. Nine Stone's another one. Skull Clamp is a banger of a card. When a creature dies, draw 2 cards. 1 mana to cast, 1 to equip, and it has -1 if your creature has 1 toughness and it just dies and you draw a card. Really would have liked to see a version of this in the Necron deck, which needs a lot of card draw. Sol Ring, not messing with the mana rocks, as I mentioned before. Talisman of Dominance, Talisman of Hierarchy, Talisman of Progress, Arcane Signet, and Commander's Sphere. If there is a mana rock I'm messing with, it's Commander's Sphere, but that seems like a free spot on the bingo card right here, so I'll actually put Commander's Sphere in the maybe pile. Okay, and that seems to be it. So the first order of business is I'm going to go down a land, because I did the land count. There's 37 lands in this. We're drawing a lot of cards. So I'm going to go to 36 lands. And we're going to upgrade the lands. And I'm not going to worry about the fixing too much, because I'm just going to count up how many lands we're adding and remove 1 of each basic. So I believe we're adding 6 lands. Yep. So not adding any utility lands or anything like that, or messing with it. I know there's life lands and tap lands in here, but as I stated a couple times, we're not upgrading this deck to be efficient. We're not making it the best that a deck can be. We're just doing it because I want to put some fun cards and fun synergies in here. So let's take out 2 planes. Put in the Shocklands. Take out a planes itself. I already removed it over here, because I figured going down to 36 lands when you have like as many sources of card draw in this deck, I'm not super worried about missing land drops. And you know, sometimes you're gonna flood out. I am a believer of 36 lands being the sweet spot for this game. I know a lot of people, there's some who run, like a guy in my group runs 32 lands, and I've told him he's a maniac. And they're like, oh, it just works for me, and this person has had non-games more than anyone else at our play group who watches this channel. You know who I'm talking about. Also, I love you. Alright, so now we have our maybe pile and our lands. We're done touching lands for now. And we're going to reevaluate the cards we're adding. I'm gonna say maybe on the Planeswalkers if we have room. I don't like what the energy that Demonic Tutor brings to tables, and I don't think so. So maybe on Phyrexian. Yes, on Phyrexian Altar. Access denied. I don't mind having 1 or 2 counterspells in there. It's not like it's a counterspell tribal deck, and we get a pretty good payoff for blowing someone out. So I'm pushing towards this. I talk about being nice, and then I come across Cyclonic Rift. We're going to rip that in there. We're a token strategy. We need to clear the board. I'm not saying no to that. Anguish Unmaking is pretty good. Archivist of Agma. It's a maybe. It's more card draw. We have a lot of card draw in here. So we don't have Call the Copper Coats. I don't know why I thought it was in here. This seems pretty sweet for this deck, so I'm going to put that in there. Bitter Blossom is a slam dunk. Smothering Tide is a slam dunk. I'm not 100% sure on Rhystic Study, because we have so many other synergistic ways of drawing cards that just an enchantment to plop down and doing the "just want to play the 1," especially considering the combo we have with Smothering Tide. I'm gonna maybe on Rhystic Study. First time in history anyone has said to Rhystic Study. It's my idiot self. Yep. Sanctifier of Souls. Look, it's a pre-release promo. I've had this for almost 10 years. I want to play it. Shadow Hearts, Dark Justicar seems good. Colagisa seems good. Jadar. Ellen seems fine. Okay. So, I'm just going to count up the cards here real quick. So we have 11 cards that we were like, okay, taking out. And we have 14 cards that we're thinking of adding in. Sans the lands, because we already added the lands in. So was there anything I super wasn't married to in here? You know, I think I'm going to make this easy on myself. I think it's going to be pretty easy to cut 3 cards from here. So I'm going to Cut Phyrexian Altar. That's a combo piece. That gets board aggro on you in a way that I don't always like. I think maybe Shadowheart, Dark Justicar might be a way to get out because it's drawing us cards, and we have a lot of sources of card draw in this deck. I need to cut one more card. I'm sure someone's probably like, Grand Abolisher. And I'm like, nah, man. I like my dummy, dude. Maybe Ellen Harbreeze Busybody, because she's kind of a win more card. Like, I need to be making a lot of tokens, have her on the battlefield, and then tapping her and digging deep. It seems like a really good ability, but it seems very win more, and in most situations, like, even it's going to be like, look at 1 or 2. And I don't have any ways of abusing her. Or maybe access denied. 5 mana, hold up a counter spell. Yeah, we're going to do access denied. We're going to get rid of the counter spell. And this is the fastest I've ever done one of these deck techs. It helps when I don't have like a lot of cards. I don't look at EDH Rec, so it's not like I'm like net decking from there or anything. I'm saying that mostly because there's probably really synergistic cards that I have or might be better for it, that just using my own brainstorming process, my own resources, my own collection. That's how I like to typically upgrade my decks. And I'm going to sleeve these up real quick because that was a pretty quick decision, and we're going to go through everything that made the cut, and I'm going to add the deck list to the video description, so if you want to go ahead and check it out. But made this in decent time. It does pain me to see the vehicles go, but the vehicles is real dumb, and I don't really, it does not hurt me that much to see them go. But by my count, we added a total of, I believe, 17 cards to the deck, lands included. I ended up adding like almost 30 to Tyrians. Alright, so, and here we have it, the cards that we are adding today.
Let's go.
It is going to be Godless Shrine, Hollow Fountain, Watery Grave, Marsh Flats, Polluted Delta, Grand Abolisher, Ellen Harbreeze Busybody, Jadar Kulgoler of Nephalia, Ghoulcaller Gisa, Sanctifier of Souls, Anointed Procession, Smothering Tide, Bitter Blossom, Call the Coppercoats, Anguished Unmaking, and everyone's favorite card, Cyclonic Rift. So there we have it. We have officially upgraded the Forces of the Imperium deck. And let me know what you guys think. Do you have any suggestions? Perhaps I should look at EDH Rec anyway. Or if you have any cool synergies or things like that, just let me know. So thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone's support. I appreciate a lot of the engagement I'm getting. These videos, like, even though I'm an insanely small channel, they've been doing way better than I thought they would be doing, and that is pretty cool. And I have to thank you people for that. So I said it already, but I'm going to say it again. So thank you very much. You all have a good day, and do what you please with yourselves.